Numbers chapter 35. Then the Lord spoke to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the Israelites to give the Levites cities from the inheritance they will possess, and you are to provide the Levites with pasture lands around these cities. The cities will be theirs to live in, and their pasture lands will be for their cattle, goods, and all their animals. The pasture lands of the cities you give the Levites will extend 1,000 cubits from the city wall all around. You are to measure 2,000 cubits outside the city on the east side, 2,000 on the south side, 2,000 on the west side, and 2,000 on the north side, with the city in the center. This will belong to the Levites as pasture lands for the cities. Among the cities you give the Levites, there are to be 6 cities of refuge, where a person who has killed someone may flee. In addition, give them 42 other cities. All the cities you give the Levites will number 48, including their pasture lands. As for the cities you give from the Israelites' territory, you should give more from a larger tribe and less from a smaller one. Each tribe is to give some of its cities to the Levites in proportion to the inheritance it receives. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites and say to them, When you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, you are to designate cities for yourselves as cities of refuge, so that a person who kills someone unintentionally may flee there. The cities will be a refuge for you from the avenger, so that the one who kills someone will not die until he stands trial before the assembly. The cities you select will be your 6 cities of refuge. Select 3 cities across the Jordan and 3 cities in the land of Canaan to be cities of refuge. These 6 cities will serve as a refuge for the Israelites, as well as for the foreigner and the resident among them, so that anyone who kills a person unintentionally may flee there. If anyone strikes a person with an iron object and death results, he is a murderer. The murderer must be put to death. Or if anyone has in his hand a stone capable of causing death, and strikes another person and he dies, the murderer must be put to death. Or if anyone has in his hand a wooden object capable of causing death, and he strikes someone so that he dies, the murderer must be put to death. The avenger of blood himself is to kill the murderer. When he finds him, he is to kill him. If anyone with malice aforethought shoves another or throws something at him intentionally so that he dies, or if in hostility he strikes him with his hand and he dies, the one who struck him must be put to death. He is a murderer. The avenger of blood is to kill the murderer when he finds him. But if anyone suddenly pushes a person without hostility or throws any object at him without malicious intent, or without seeing him drops a stone that could kill him and he dies, but he was not his enemy and didn't intend to harm him, the assembly is to judge between the person who killed someone and the avenger of blood according to these ordinances. The assembly is to protect the one who kills someone from the avenger of blood. Then the assembly will return him to the city of refuge he fled to, and he must live there until the death of the high priest who was anointed with the holy oil. But if the one who kills someone ever goes outside the border of the city of refuge he fled to, and the avenger of blood finds him outside the border of his city of refuge and kills him, the avenger will not be guilty of bloodshed, because the one who killed his neighbor unintentionally had not previously hated him. He is to stay in that city until he stands trial before the assembly and until the death of the high priest serving at that time. Then the one who killed a person may return to his own city, the city from which he fled. These instructions will be a statute of justice for you throughout your generations wherever you live. If anyone kills a person, the murderer is to be put to death based on the word of witnesses. But no one is to be put to death based on the testimony of one witness. You are not to accept a ransom for the life of a murderer who is guilty of killing someone. He must be put to death. You are not to accept a ransom for someone who has fled to a city of refuge, enabling him to return and live in the land before the death of the priest. You must not defile the land where you are, for bloodshed defile the land, and there can be no atonement for the land because of the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of the person who shed it. Do not defile the land where you will live and where I dwell, for I, the Lord, dwell among the Israelites.